Hello, everyone. G'day, Ashley. How you doing? Yvonne, nice to see you here. Thank you so much for making time this afternoon. Liz, welcome. Lovely to, well, I can't say see you, but lovely to see your name on screen. Hope you're all doing well, folks. We've got a couple of minutes before we kick off, so feel free to, grab a cuppa or have a bit of a stretch, do whatever you need to do. I should unmute Ashley and get her to lead us through a couple of quick Zoom stretches to help our poor necks and shoulders on Zoom. While you're waiting, just pop a quick note in the chat for me below the little thing that looks like the thought bubble that says chat beside it. Just let me know where you're zooming in from this afternoon and that I'm coming through loud and clear. We had a few dozen register for today, so I will give them to 1:30 and just make sure that people get the opportunity to jump on. So I know Ashley will be zooming in from Springfield, and we've got Yvonne from Mackay. Welcome. I'm guessing you're not in jumpers and things. I'm in Toowoomba, and what is it, 15 degrees now, but I think outside it probably still feels like about 10. It was -2 when I woke up this morning, so not fun. And Ashley's under a blanket. Good on you, hun. I had a blankie on my lap for my earlier Zoom sessions as well. So smart lady. I have the cat curled up in the bed beside me. He's just kicked his blankie off, so he's obviously at temperature, which is good to know. Okay, all right. It's gone 1:30. If anyone else joins, that's great, but let's kick off because I'm mindful of everybody's time. And we do only have an hour. We've got a lot to get through as always. Yes, the recording will come out. I will send that out as soon as I can after the session finishes. Now, I'll keep the chat box open. So look, what I might do, because it's a pretty small group so far, just pop a little note in the chat box at any time if you've got any questions. Because it is such a small group, I'll make sure that anything you need to know that we cover off. So let us kick off. Now, first of all, I'm going to walk you through where you're going to find this information. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, eligibility criteria, what you can and can't apply for, what the process is going to look like, all that kind of stuff. Now, for anyone who has had any dealings with DESBT before, the first thing, DESBT is the Department of Small Business and Training. The first thing I would say to you is please ignore the time frames, okay? Typically, they say that applications will be, you'll hear back within a month or so. The last one closed off, I think, April, May, maybe, April. Everybody just found out in the last week. So round one is still kind of happening. So round two doesn't open until the 8th of September. So that's the first thing to know. Everything you'll need to have ready, by 9 a.m. on the 8th of September. So you've got 10 days, whatever it is, to pull all your bibs and bobs together, and you want to be online, you want to be registered for their portal, you want to be good to go, sweating on your internet connection at 9 a.m. Okay, because round one, closed. Oh, well, that was delicate, wasn't it? There we go. Round one closed within 3 hours, and I highly suspect that round two will be the same. Okay, so biggest thing I can say to you is take the time now to get your bits and pieces together and make sure that you're ready to rock and roll 9 a.m. on the 8th of September. Give yourself every possible shot of getting in and getting ready. So basically, again, I'll give you this link. So basically what we're going to cover off today is the guidelines, the T's and C's, where to find your a sample application form, where to see your stat deck, and what to look for in your supplier. So big thing, the funding is for $5,000, and that's ex GST. And you can't start any work before you've been approved, okay? So if you're working on something now, you can't apply for the grant for it. It needs to be a new project. So, you know, if it's a website build, or you want a marketing plan, or you want a business plan or something like that, expect that you're not going to start working on it until, you know, October, November. They have 4 main priorities. That is training and coaching. So that's stuff like your business development, your marketing development, HR, any kind of business planning, training and coaching. So in round 1, I had quite a few clients successful on getting a marketing strategy, or getting a business plan done, or getting marketing training. So there's some options for some stuff that you can look at for training and coaching. Website build and upgrades. So you can get an entire website built. I got approved for a website upgrade, so I'm doing a bit of a refresh to my site. If you want to add e-commerce capabilities, or if you want to develop new content. So if you need to get a copywriter, or work with someone to develop content, photography, perhaps, that kind of thing, that's what that one fits under, website build or upgrades. And remember, you know, the website build, that might be more than $5,000. So you still put the invoice in for the total amount, but you'll only get the $5,000. So just bear that in mind. It's no co-contribution. So it's a total $5,000, and you don't have to put anything towards it. Professional business advice. So that's your business planning. Strategic marketing service, that's your marketing plans. And that could be things like SEO, search engine optimization. So getting an SEO person on board, putting a plan in place for your SEO for your business. And then you've got business continuity and succession planning. So if you're looking for, you know, how do I get out of the business and bring the kids in, or what happens when a global pandemic hits, what's our continuity plan, then that's where that fits. Also your cybersecurity, or your training and tools around making sure that your business is okay in terms of, you know, your cybersecurity, making sure that you've got password managers, a cybersecurity plan, you know, all that kind of stuff. So they're the only things that they will look at, okay? There's no ad spend to go towards Google ads. There's no Facebook ads, you know, no stuff that you're buying with cryptocurrencies. You can't use general operating, so you can't use it to pay your accountant or your bookkeeper. There's no lease or hire fees of equipment, no goods or services, no travel, no franchise fees. So have a good look through here. But basically, if you stick to one of these 4 things, you got a really good shot, you know, really, really good shot. So website build, upgrade, training and coaching. All of our people last time around were successful in the training and coaching, and the business planning and the strategic marketing services. So just keep that in mind. Hey, Mel, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. We're only just kicking off, so no worries. Okay, so that's what they're looking at this time around. So $5,000, you can't start any work before the approval, and it's a total focus around those 4 activities. So as I said, the application's open on the 8th of September. The application is competitively assessed. So I don't know if you remember last year, they had the 10 grand for the COVID funding. And that was just straight out. If you hit the criteria and you matched, you know, all of those pieces in the puzzle, you got the 10 grand, no questions asked. This time it is competitively assessed, which is why it takes them longer. They have to wait for all the applications to come in, and then they kind of compare them against, you know, other applications and things. So just bear that one in mind. Okay, so let's look at the guidelines. So there's a couple of, well, one super big change, and it's going to disappoint a couple of you I know that are on the call. So please be aware, one really, really big change this time around. So we talked about, you know, the 5 priorities that they're focused on. It has to fit into one of those 5, or you will not be approved. When it comes to writing your grant application, you need to put your focus and your emphasis on the outcome. So why, if you apply for, say, a strategic marketing plan, what is that going to do for your business? Is it going to increase the confidence and the core skills of the owners? Is it going to increase your profit? Is it going to allow you to employ people? Or is it going to make your business more resilient to survive, future global pandemics or bushfires or, something like that? So always keep in mind when you're writing your grant, typically what I do is I will cut and paste that onto a piece of paper. And as I'm writing each question out or each answer out, I'm going to show you where the sample application is. I'm thinking the whole time, how can I fit, that phrase in? How can I talk about improving confidence or abilities across core skills? How can I talk about whether it's going to boost my turnover, increase my profit? How can I talk about whether it's going to increase my employment abilities, whether I can, bring somebody on as a result of this, what it's going to mean for my survivability of the business. So always keep, that's a really, really big one. So the first note you want to take down, make sure in all of your answers that you're focused on talking about those program outcomes. Now, when I create an invoice for a quote for anyone, as a supplier, I'm talking about these outcomes in my quote as well. So as a result of doing this, it's an expectation that the client will see that. So just keep that in mind as well when you're working with your suppliers. So as we said, funding is an upfront fixed amount of $5,000. That's ex GST. So you will need to pay the $500 the $500 in GST, and that just goes around in a circle, right? So the supplier will invoice you $5,000 ex GST. You'll pay the $5,500, and round and round and round in circles the GST bit goes. Okay. So here's the big bit around the criteria, around eligibility this time round. So a couple of things are exactly the same. So fewer than 20 employees by headcount. So yes, you can be a sole trader. Okay, no problem. You can be self-employed, no problem. However, the next thing, you need to have an ABN and you need to be registered for GST. So if you're not registered for GST, you are not eligible for the grant. You cannot apply. Well, you can apply for it, but you're wasting your time, honestly, collecting all the bibs and bobs and putting all the effort that goes into it. So if you aren't registered for GST, no point applying for the grant. The next thing, you need to be in Queensland. And here's the kicker. This is phase 2. You've got to be based in regional Queensland, and we'll go through what that list means in a second. But basically, SEQ is out. Okay, so you've got to be based in regional Queensland. You've got to have a turnover of $300,000 or less for last financial year, and you couldn't receive funding for round 1. So if you got funding in round 1, you can't apply. Owners and directors cannot be insolvent, or they can't be an undisclosed, undischarged bankrupt. So any questions around that before I cover off what regional Queensland is, because that's a big one to kind of just be aware of, whether you fit into those criteria or not. Just pop any notes that you've got or any questions you've got into the chat. Okay, so for the purposes of the program, here is what DESBT, Department of Small Business and Training, are saying are regional Queensland. And I'm going to leave this up for a bit, and I'm going to give you the link to this so you can have a look at it. But I know, for example, we've got Ashley on the call from Springfield. I'm sorry, Ipswich is one of the areas that is not included. So Springfield, out for this round. No, sorry, Ashley. Toowoomba, not included this round. So if you're based in Toowoomba, no, you're not eligible for it. If you're based, however, in Dalby, Western Downs, you're fine. So you need to be based in one of these regional areas. So, I've just done a trip out to Merware, so Charleville, Quilpie, we're all good there. Charters Towers, Central Highlands, my friends in Cairns, Bundy, Fraser Coast. So Mackay, you're good. You are included. So happy days. So just make sure that you're in that list. And if you're not, honestly, you can probably get some time back in your day if you want to, because you're not going to be able to apply for the grant anyway. So Ashley, Mel, understand if you want to dial out at this point. Sadly, there's no point you gathering your data together, because, you know, you're just not going to get any further. So that's the big thing. You need to be in regional Queensland. Okay, so we talked about the priorities. So here are the things. So any questions on the regional areas, because that's a big one. Remember, I'm going to give you the link. But any comments, any thoughts around, any questions around there? So I know we've got Yvonne. You'll be doing a little happy dance. You'll be okay. And yeah, Ashley, completely agree. I'd keep an eye on Ipswich Local Council, to be honest. They seem to be doing some cool stuff for their own areas. So definitely keep in touch with Springfield Chamber, and just keep an eye on the Ipswich Council website and see what's going on. And Mel, same for you. Keep an eye on Toowoomba Chamber and Toowoomba Council and see if they're offering anything for locals. And thanks, ladies. Completely understand. Have a great afternoon. Okay, so for my friends that are still in the region, you too, Ash, look forward to catching up soon, hon. Okay, so still in the running. So here's the things, remember, that we can focus on. So business development, marketing, HR, business planning topics, training, coaching. So last time I got people through that were looking to implement a CRM. So we put some training and coaching packages together for them to help them understand a CRM. We did some digital marketing training that was successful. We did the business planning that was successful for a number of people. We talked about, strategic marketing plan. So just be mindful that it needs to be one of those to get your support through. Bunch of stuff that you can't. Okay, so this is the big one: no advertising costs or campaign delivery. So no Facebook ads, no Google ads, etc. But you could apply for training to understand Google ads or to understand Facebook ads, just not to use the $5,000 on advertising. Excuse me. Also, nothing on website hosting or registering for GST or buying computer like iPads or laptops or anything like that. Okay, so in terms of timeframes, once you've been approved, you need to start work on your project within 1 month of your approval. So round one approvals came out on the 23rd, so it was Monday this week. So we have a month to begin working on all of those projects for the people that were successful. So this opens on the 8th of September. Let's say you find out in October, you'd have to commence work in November, and it needs to be completed within 4 months. So if you're successful, expect that you're going to be working on this project over the Christmas break, right? That would be my thought in terms of future planning. So if you're planning on having a nice break over Christmas, just bear in mind you're probably going to be doing a bit of work on this project. Applications open 9 a.m. on the 8th. And will close when DESBT receives enough applications, right? So they don't actually tell you how many applications. They don't say that we've got $3 million or $500,000 or whatever it is. They just say when it's enough. But what they will do on the day, and what you'll see as you're trying to put your application through, the grant is now at 60%, 80%, 90%, 92%, and you'll watch the numbers creep up very, very quickly from 9 a.m. So be ready if you are eligible and you can get all your bits and pieces together, be online, be signed up, be ready to rock and roll by 9 a.m. I'd be logging in at 8:50 and hitting going and grabbing a coffee then and starting your application as soon as the gates open at 9 a.m. So here's the process for it. Here's what it looks like. So you put your application in. So there's a link here for you to register for their grant application platform. Do that well before the 8th of September. That thing crashed and has crashed every time they've opened up a grant. So do not leave it until the day that the grant opens. You can set up your account with Smarty Grants well before. So I would do that in the next couple of days. It takes about 5-10 minutes, reasonably easy platform to kind of navigate, but get that done, put it aside, tick, you're done. So write yourself a little note, sign up for Smarty Grants application. And then you sit on your hands until, 9 a.m. on the 8th of September, and then you log back into that account and happy days. Now, there's a few bits and pieces that you need to compile to be ready to rock and roll, and it's what they call their supporting evidence. So the first one is you've got to have a signed and witnessed stat deck from the owner or director. Okay, now they give you a template for the stat deck, which I'll show you in a second, but you need to get that stat deck signed by an approved witness. Okay, now that's typically, a JP at, your chemist or the police station or something like that. Not hard to do when you've got, this time that we've got now to get it sorted. So sign a witness stat deck saying that the business has a turnover of less than $300,000 in the last 12 months and meets all the eligibility criteria. So that's the first thing. They want the stat deck. You only have one shot at getting this application in, so you need to have that stat deck ready to go. Now, that might mean that you need to speak to your accountant or take a look at your books or, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you fit under that 300K threshold. Then the next thing you need is a quote or quotes from the person or people that you want to work with. So for example, if you decide that you want to work with me on a marketing plan or something, then I would need to provide that quote to you well in advance so you've got it, okay? And in that, the supplier will need to detail what it is that they're offering you, what the cost of service is, who's going to undertake the delivery, and what the outline of the activities are. So again, remember I said to you, when I'm doing this for my clients, I always make sure that I'm focused on those outcomes. So I'm putting this wording into my supplier quote. Now, if you're working with someone who's done a few successful grants for clients, they'll know to do that. But if you're not, then make sure that you kind of clue them up with what you need. Okay, so applicants must fully complete their application and provide supporting evidence. So what happens once you've hit go on your grant, you can't then submit information later on. One shot, original answers, that's it. So spend the time between now and the 8th and make sure that you get your stuff together, kind of is what I'm saying. Only submit original answers. What that means is you cannot use a grant writer, okay? You can't go to someone and say, can you write my grant for me because I'm not quite sure what to say. You have to write it. And one of the reasons that grants were turned down in round 2 was they deemed it to look as though it had been written by a grant writer. Now, I haven't seen what those responses looked like, so I can't tell you whether, it was written by a grant writer, but, just saying that was one of the reasons I saw things turned down. So submit your own answers, applications or submissions from third parties are ineligible. So you can't get your grant writers to submit something. You can't get me to submit a grant for you on your behalf. Realistic and probable answers. So this is something that I see quite a bit around, particularly around when we go through the question and answer bit, like the thing that you've got to fill in. Here we go, the sample application. One of the questions that they'll ask you is, do you see that you'll be able to employ people off the back of that? Don't suddenly go, oh yeah, in the next 12 months, I'm going to be employing 20 people. Be realistic. I think on my application, I said as a result of this, I'll probably be looking to put a contractor on at part-time rates or something like that. So just err on the side of caution. Don't give them a reason to kind of go, really, would you though? 20 people? Okay, so then you get that in, it goes to assessment. you know, like not all applications are going to be funded. So just do everything to kind of tick all the boxes, make it as seamless for the people reviewing your grant as you can. So the assessment criteria, they're looking to positively. So these are some things to consider in your answers. And if you can structure your answers around this, it's going to tick the boxes for the assessors. So where possible, think about how you getting a new website, or how you getting a strategic marketing plan, or how you getting digital marketing training is going to positively impact revenue growth. So as a result of having a strategic marketing plan, I know I'm going to be more confident with the way that I market, you know what I mean? So this is going to impact my revenue growth because I'm going to be more comfortable using social media, and I'm going to develop a community, and, you know, I'm going to have an e-commerce site, whatever. Enhance your business core skills and adopt best practice. So again, you know, by having digital marketing training and understanding how LinkedIn is going to impact my business, I'm upskilling myself and my team or my business owners, allowing us to adopt best practice across social media. Talk about whether it's likely to create jobs growth within your business, and demonstrate value for money. So that's a big one, you know. So if we're looking at a business plan, they want to see that what you're doing in that business plan is value for money. Now, really interestingly, this is just a bit of anecdotal feedback I had from round one. I had 3 people that came back to me that went with another supplier for business planning, and they were all knocked back. And we had 5 people, I think, go through with a business plan that were approved. And when I looked at the supplier quotes versus what we put through, I could see, you know, it was really light on in terms of the value for money. So really take your time and think about and demonstrate to the assessors why this is so important to you, and why it's so worth their money, you know, them giving you the $5,000. So they may prioritize applications across geographic areas and the business population. Now, what that means for me is typically where I see this playing out is if you have the opportunity to work with a supplier who's local or who is within Queensland, they will always give that a bigger kind of tick than finding a supplier that's based in Sydney or Melbourne or somewhere else. So in this instance, when I was chatting to DESBT the other day, interestingly, they kind of suggested that suppliers from Toowoomba would still be classified as a regional supplier, but Toowoomba wasn't classified as a region that could apply for the grant. So some double standards there, but just kind of think about, you know, is there a supplier that can do this that I can work with within Queensland? And then is there a supplier that I know, like, and trust, maybe within a closer geographical area that I can bond with, or, you know, that has had good success in the past. Okay, so outcomes. Once you're successful, you'll get a letter to say, yay, congratulations, that's your letter of approval. Once you get that letter of approval, you've then got 1 month to begin your work. And then, you know, you start getting some T's and C's in terms of you've got to acquit the grant, you've got to provide them, you know, the invoice from the supplier, a couple of other things. So I'm going to leave that all there for you to have a read of. This is the link from DESBT, because we're not really focused right now on what do you do once the grant's been approved. We're trying to get you the funding. So let's focus on that. So this is all up until what do we need to be thinking about to get the grant in, okay? So the next thing you want to have a bit of a look at, just to double check everything, and again, I'll give you all the links in the email. These are the terms and conditions. So just make sure that you're reading through again and kind of understanding, you know, there isn't really much on here to kind of keep an eye out on, to be honest, but I will include the link. We've gone through everything you really need to know in that guidelines piece. So really, you know, just if you submit anything online, you're not going to get it back. By submitting the application, you agree that DESBT holds your information. It's worth looking at, but just, you know, we've covered off everything you kind of need to know in the guidelines. Okay, so here's your sample application. definitely print this out and start working through it. Or if you, have a PDF writer that you can write into, definitely want to do that. So there's some basic stuff, like yes, no check boxes. I confirm I've got less than 20 employees. I know my ABN. Yes, I confirm all of the above. I confirm the directors are not insolvent. I confirm that I can apply on behalf and it's not a third party. What's the operating address of the business? And that can be your home address. No, Yvonne, no. So Yvonne's question is, if you register for an ABN, do you automatically get registered for GST? No, you need to register for GST separately. Typically, you do that through your accountant. The rough threshold, you don't need to register for GST up until $75,000. Okay, once your business is turning over 75K every year, you need to be registered for GST, but you can register for GST anytime before that you want to. Okay, so if in doubt, that's a question to chat with for your accountant. But remember, you do need to be registered for GST to apply for the grant. So you have time if you think that, you're close or it's worth your while, or the accountant says, actually, you probably, yep, I think it's a good time for you to do that. I get it in now. So you've got that, you can tick that little box and say, yep, register for GST. So pop your address in. That can be your home address. So I work from home. So that's my home address. It just can't be a PO box. Okay. And then next thing down, so these are all pretty straightforward. So most of them you can see they're pretty straightforward, right? They're not going to take you a lot of time. Is the address in Queensland? What's your local government area? So that's, who's your council? So if you're in Charleville, it's Merware. If you're in Mackay, it's Mackay. If you're in Bundaberg, it's Bundaberg. If you're in Dalby, it's Western Downs. So typically you know that because of your rates, or if in doubt, ask your chamber or ask your local community where you're from, or ask me and I'll have a look for you. So confirm your local government area. So then the next thing is, please upload your stat deck. And here's what you've got to say. So we'll look at the stat deck in a second. And here's your checklist. So the stat deck is the business owner or director named in, page 2. So here's who it is. The declaration states the business is turning over less than 300,000 in the last financial year. It meets all the eligibility criteria. And it's been signed by a business owner or a director. So that's all easy. Declarations being witnessed, including the signature by an approved witness. And I'll show you where you can find out who your approved witness is. And then this is only a sample. So, you're not going to choose the file, but on the 8th of September at 9 a.m., you're going to click and upload your stat deck. Okay, so now we're into like the privacy statement. So you can see they're not difficult questions. There's no kind of reason right now to be reaching out to a grant writer anyway, because is your business a sole trader? Is it a company? Is it a partnership? What is it? So you can fill all of that in. What's your web address? Now it can be a social media page. If you don't have a website yet, maybe you want to apply for the money to get a website built. That's okay. They're just looking for something, a web address of some description to show that the business is operating. So you can see there, it can be a business website or it can be a social media page. You can have more than one web link if you want. You just click add more. I just use my web address. I didn't give them extra. Was just my web address, because if they do go to the website, they'll see, here's my social media links as well. Responsible person is the business owner, director, shareholder, etc. So their name, what they are, whether they're the owner, director, etc. Pop your ABN in. You've then got to look up once you do the ABN, that's okay. It will then ask you at some point, but we're not there yet, so I won't get ahead of myself. Okay, so here's where we go. Please explain the relationship between, that's only if you're a trust, okay. Are you on the Australian Business Record in Queensland? So if you registered for your business in Queensland, you would be. If you registered your business in New South Wales or something, then you wouldn't be. So you just look that up and prove. So you just may have to include, if your business wasn't originally set up in Queensland, you may just have to include something from ASIC or the accountant, saying that, hey, we set up in Victoria, but we relocated to Queensland 3 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, and now we're based here. So just if your business was set up somewhere else first, pop your postal address, primary number in, that can be a mobile number, email address, contact name, business contact position, again, business owner, whatever it is, your bank details that you want the money paid into when you're successful, so your business bank. And here's one that you're going to want to look up ahead of time. So in the sample, this is a hyperlink that you can go off and have a look at. You want to find what your ABS search code is. So by that, I mean, if you're in manufacturing or tourism or marketing or whatever, there's a big long list that comes up. Just have a read through. So again, on the 8th of September, you're not going, oh, I don't know, and then spending half an hour trying to figure that out. Just spend a bit of time over a cuppa, over a glass of wine one weekend, and just, go spend a bit of time and go, no. Okay, that's the closest. Now, if you fit into one of these sectors, tourism, social enterprise, or the NDIS ticket, they say it's for reporting purposes, but I did notice a number of tourism people just get through really easily. So if you're I had a couple of Airbnb people that were looking to put plans in place and things, and we, no problems getting their grant through. How long have you been trading? How many employees? Remember, that doesn't include the directors of the business or the owners. So if you're a sole trader not taking a wage, start taking a wage. You need to be taking, you need to be an employee or have an employee in the business. Okay, so here's where you want to start working on your application. Here's the stuff that's going to help your application shine compared to whatever else gets through. So describe your business, including the products and services it provides and your target market. Now, you've only got 100 words, okay? Not a lot of words. So take a bit of time and think that through. You want to get as close to 100 words as you can, and you want to be really, really succinct in how you talk about what you do. So if it's a product versus a service, if it's both, who's your target market? So, I work with small business owners aged over 45 or 40 and over who are technophobic, typically focusing around regional Queensland or, whatever that looks like for you. What's your expected turnover for this year? Needs to be less than 300K. And what's your expected gross profit? So again, if you're not sure of those, now's the opportunity for you to have a quick call with your accountant and say, can you give me those numbers, or your bookkeeper, whoever it is that you work with for that. Diversity question. So is a business 50% or more owned by Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people? And then, are there any other identifiers for the group? So are you a woman in business, people with disability, young people, senior, culturally, linguistic, diverse, etc. Again, they say that's for reporting opportunities. So here's where we get to have some fun. So the grant funded activity. So everything with a little asterisk, just assume you've got to answer everything is basically what I'm suggesting. Give your project a title, no more than 15 words. Try and make it like, if I look at it, I get what it is that you're trying to do, website overhaul, saves regional Queensland business from ruin, or, have a bit of fun with it, but make sure that they can understand and makes it easier to reference. Okay, so acknowledge. So they're just kind of saying, I noticed that they haven't updated this yet, so they haven't really caught up, but there we go. They're just saying here that you're acknowledging that if you get this money, within 1 month of you getting the approval, you're going to start the agreement. You're going to have it all done within 4 months. You're not paying the supplier before the grant gets approved, and you're going to equip the grant the way that they're asking you to. So yes, no, it's going to be yes. What priority do you want to focus on? Pick one, okay? Do not pick two. That's my big advice on this one. So where I saw people fall over last time was they picked a couple, and the ones that stuck with one seemed to have a higher success rate. So typically you kind of know what you're looking for, whether it's training and coaching or website or whatever it is. And then you're going to write 200 words around what it is that you're doing. So, and remembering, we're going to lean on the assessment criteria. So we're going to be talking about impacting revenue growth. We're going to be talking about enhancing business core skills. We're adopting best practice, potential to create growth, and we're going to demonstrate value for money. And we're also going to be focused on, in that 200 words, what the outcomes. So I'm looking to obtain a strategic marketing plan to increase confidence. And I would use their words back at them, to increase the confidence of and core competencies across my business. Really use their words back at them. They love knowing that you've spent some time and read their guidelines and know what they're looking for. So 200 words, again, start working on that stuff now. 200 words to talk about how's the grant activities going to enhance the core skills and make it more competitive. So by getting some digital training or by implementing a CRM, your business is going to be able to blah. Why is that improving core skills? I'd talk about what it is that you're doing each time and talk about how, make sure that you're addressing exactly what they're asking for in each of the questions. So you want to use that phrase back at them at least once in the 200 words. So by doing this, it's going to enhance the core skills of my business and make it more competitive by X. Okay, then we're talking about expected outcomes, and just pop a little note in and let me know if all of this is making sense, if you've got any questions. Really happy to just, stop and take the time that you need to understand all of this and make sure that you're feeling really comfortable to get what you need to get out of it. Okay, so now we're moving into they're saying, think 6 months down the track. So we're at Easter next year. We've completed the activity. What do you expect the growth to be? What's that going to mean? What's it going to mean for you in terms of revenue? What's it going to mean for you in terms of profit? What's it going to mean for you in terms of employees? And now remember that we're going to be realistic here. So what do you expect your revenue is going to increase by next year? Now that's just the revenue increase, not next year we're going to turn over 500,000. So it wouldn't be 500,000. It might be 20,000. It might be 10,000. It might be 50,000. Whatever to be realistic, that's the figure that you want in there, not the total for what you're going to bring in next year. Gross profit, same thing. It's the expected increase, not the total. So if your revenue is going to be, let's say 20K, your gross profit out of that 20K might be 8K. So it would be $8,000 in there. You might have $12,000 worth of expenses in that 20 grand, for example. And additional employees. So, that's right. This is where I got tricked up. So I put 0.5, and it can't be a half of one. It's got to be like 1 or 0. So I think I put 1 there. So how's it going to assist you to grow? 200 words. So again, we're talking about, focusing on, by implementing this digital training, by getting the grant, by doing the website, whatever it is that you're going to do, I can see that this will assist my business to grow revenue, increase profit, and create jobs in the following way. People are going to have a point of presence to be able to look at on the website. My social media is going to increase. I'm going to build more followers. That's going to lead to more people visiting the website or signing up to the newsletter, which in turn is going to blah, 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 blah. That's going to generate, somebody who needs to pick and pack the stock for me, whatever that looks like. Okay, so now we're up to the suppliers and how much that you are going for. Now it needs to be a minimum of $5,000. So you could go for a website that's worth $7,000 or $10,000. You would put the whole invoice in, but you're only going for 5,000. Now, conversely, if you've only got something worth $2,000 worth of photography, go and get $3,000 worth of copywriting done, or $3,000 to get a digital marketing strategy done, or, you know, whatever it is that you want. It's got to be at least $5,000, or again, it will just go through. Now you can only have 2 suppliers. Okay. So you can't go off and get 4 quotes and put them in and just go, oh, they'll pick the best ones. No, no, no. 2 people only. They all have to have, well, you have to put in the supplier name. So in my instance, you know, Unusual Comms is my company name, additional information. So, you know, Unusual Comms has been working in the digital marketing space since 1990, based in regional Queensland. They've helped over, you know, 5,000 small business owners do whatever, the extra bit of stuff that you're going to use. What's the quote worth? So $5,000. So it's not going to be 5,500. It's the ex-GST amount. As it says, they're usually the subtotal. And then you want to attach the quote, the supplier attachments. Now, things to keep in mind from your supplier, you need to have the supplier's name. They need to have the ABN, contact details, and website URL. Now, interestingly, here's one where I know that a few people did get knocked back because the suppliers don't do a lot of work for DESBT, and they didn't have those details on their quote. So DESBT just said, no, you're, so I can't remember what the reason they were turned down with, but when they went back for the assessment, it was because the supplier had let them down. So make sure whoever you're working with includes all of those details. So if in doubt, put it on an email to them. This is what I need on your quote. Make sure you give it to me. They've got to include the details of the grant activity, description of service, and outline key activities that they're going to take. Quotes need to be formal on a business letterhead. Now, it's fine for them to come out of Xero or MyOb or QuickBooks, which is how I generate my quotes, because they've got the branding and all that kind of stuff. Now, if it's an online purchase, and I kind of can't see where that would happen, but if it is, then it needs to be a shopping cart printout. Okay. But I can't, if anyone can think of anything and you want to pop it in the chat, you know, we can talk that through. And then what you'll see is you have a row for each supplier. So if you've only got 1 supplier, happy days, pop it in. If you have 2 suppliers, pop it in. So your total supplier costs. So I'm hoping it's going to be $5,000, could be more. So, you know, you might want to put 10,000 or 7,000 or whatever. Total amount requested is going to be $5,000. Okay. Okay, then we're just on to the certification and submission. So I certify that. I've read this. I get it. I've read, accept the T's and C's. I know what I'm doing. I'm a big person. I'm happy to hit yes and submit, and happy days. So that is the sample application. Print it off, work your way through it. There's those couple of 100 and 200 words that you really want to just have nailed. I do it in a Word document. So then all I've got to do on the 8th is copy and paste, and I'm not sitting there trying to think of what I'm going to say. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing you need to know is the stat deck. Throw any questions you've got, folks, into the chat box. We've got about 15 minutes left to go, and I want to make sure that you're leaving this feeling like you're good. I've got everything I need. I'm happy. So this is your sample stat deck. So you can print this out and fill this in and take it to, you know, a person to get it signed off. So I, Tracy Sheen, of my address, am the business, I'm the owner of Unusual Comms, do solemnly and sincerely declare, blah, blah, blah. I've got an expected turnover of less than $300. I meet all the grant applications. And here's where it will tell you, just open, see if I can open that up separately. It's going to take me to the same link. So here's who can witness it. Okay. So basically a JP. So really, if you're in a regional town, usually a chemist or a police station are your JPs. They're the easiest ones to kind of get to. If you're in Mackay, typically your shopping center on a Thursday night or a Saturday afternoon is going to have that information. You just, have it printed out, you line up, you get them to witness it, and you sign it on the day. And that's it. You bring it back, you scan it, or you take a photocopy. If you're on an iPhone, you can take a photo of it, upload it as a PDF, and happy days. So that's your stat deck. You need to have that done as well. Okay, now that's it for me in terms of what you need to know to be ready, to be grant ready. So you're going to need that stat deck done. You're going to need to have filled in your sample application. So do your wording, get all of that kind of right, get that clear in your head, make sure you've gone through that industry list and you're comfortable with what your ASIC code is, your ANZIC code. You need your supplier quotes from them, and you need to have signed up for the Smarty Grants portal. Okay, they're your big things that you need to have done well before the 8th. Don't be trying to get stuff signed off by a JP on the afternoon before. Don't be trying to get a quote out of a supplier the morning of. It's going to end in tears. So on this, I would say to you, if you want to work with me, I will have the quotes through to you before the 1st of September. So you've got it. Well, maybe not. Hang on, what's today? 30. You know what I mean? Well before. So the 8th, I think, is the Thursday. So I'd have them to you the Monday before. So you've got those couple of days up your sleeve. Just don't leave it to the night before. That's where so many people fell over last time, because they went, oh, it opens at 9 a.m. I'll be fine. They were ringing about trying to get stuff at the last minute. And I'm just watching we're at 80%, we're at 60%. I'm just watching that figure go up and up and up and up. It'll close, no issue. It will close within a few hours. So if you're interested, I'm going to send you a link. This is a page you can have a look at. I've kind of put all the stuff that we've talked about. So the round 2 regional focus, what you'll need to have ready. And here's where you can just pop some information in if you're interested in working with me or to get a quote from a grant. Now, if you already have someone in mind, that's great. No, I really hope this has been helpful for you. And, I'm happy to send you whatever, and, find someone that you're comfortable with. As long as you get what you needed to get from me today, that's perfectly fine. If you don't have someone to work with and you're looking for someone, this is the stuff that I can offer. So have a look down here. So we're focusing on training and coaching, business advice, and strategic services. So here's the stuff we're doing: training and coaching, a CRM boot camp. So if you don't know what CRM, customer relationship manager, that you want to get, we can go through all that with you. If you've decided that it's HubSpot, because we're HubSpot people and we know that inside out, we do a HubSpot boot camp. If you've ever wanted to get into podcasting, we've got a podcasting boot camp. I'm in the middle of running a interviewing program at the moment, because I'm a trained copywriter and interviewer from Radio Days. So I teach people how to run interviews for podcasts and webcasts and getting books and stuff. So we do that. Virtual events, I've run virtual events, so we can do that. Business development coaching, so that's working with you to get some coaching for your business over the next period of time. And to be honest, that's my hobby, that's not me. But he's got a master's in franchising, 30 years as a strategic coach. He worked trained under the Stephen Covey, under the original 7 Habits guy, former state manager for one of the major telcos. He's been an international speaker, and he's started, sold, and built a bunch of businesses. So he's like you want him as a business coach, not me. And marketing coaching, that's me. So I do that stuff. And then in terms of provisional advice, Pete's working with people to do business plans, strategic marketing planning, that's me. So you can see the prices on the stuff there. So all you do is fill your details in the details bit here, and you'll see that it will, you just pop in, it just tick which one you want. So I want the HubSpot bootcamp and some marketing support and, it lets me know what to build the quote for. And if there's something that isn't in there that you go, oh, hang on, I'd really like that, then there's my email. Just click on that, drop me a link and tell me what you want. Maybe it's some specific training around social media, or how to write content, or inbound marketing, or, at brand coaching, any of that kind of stuff. So we can help there. Bit of information on me if you're not familiar with who I am. And then if you don't have a copy of my book, shameless self-promotion in the background. And there's some other free webinars and stuff I do that you can sign up for. Okay, so let me take this off share screen. Let me make sure that I'm answering everybody's questions, because we have a couple of minutes to go. Hey, Christine, how you doing? Can you apply for, say, a website for 3K and business coaching for 2K? Yes. Short answer, yes. It would be two quotes typically. So you'd go to a web builder and maybe, business coaching, and you would submit those 2 quotes. So short answer, yes, absolutely. Christine, I'm not sure if you joined a little late. The big thing that you may have missed, if you did, is that Toowoomba is not in the area that can apply for grants this time around. So Toowoomba's exempt. But if your business is registered outside of Toowoomba, for some reason I've got a weird feeling that it might have been in Gatton or Dolby or something like that. Just have a look at the list anyway. But if it was registered, or if it's headquartered in Toowoomba now, then sadly round 2 is not going to work for you. Okay, Brad, Yvonne, any questions from you folks? Otherwise, I think we've hit kind of everything you need to know. How are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're going to get an application in? Are you feeling like this is something that, yep, I can do this. I've got a good shot. Yvonne, it sounds like you need to have a chat about GST. So just going to check that. Okay, so the recording, I'll try and get this done this afternoon, but it'll probably come out to you tomorrow, to be honest, the recording with that landing page. And in the email, I'll give you all of those links. So again, you can go through just thinking about it. It's perfectly fine. That's a good way to be. Know where everything is when you need it. So you'll get the link to the main page. The other thing I'd suggest while you're here, to be honest, is sign up for, subscribe to their newsletter, because you can see, these are the current grant programs that they run. So they've got the COVID one going that goes till 16th of November. You've got to prove that you were impacted. They've got another one coming out. It's the $1,000. They haven't kind of said a whole lot about it yet. The business basics grant, which is the one we're talking about today, the boost one and the round 1 has closed, but they've got stuff coming through all the time. So make sure that you're signed up and you keep an eye on things. I keep an eye on things as well. So as stuff happens, I'll always set up a webinar and try and help people out as much as I can to get ready. I like now that they've given us some time. So previously, like last year, they just used to open the grant and it would be a mad scramble to try and get everything together. I do like now, I have to say that, the information was released tomorrow, but the open date is the 8th of September. So you've got some time to get some stuff together. So that makes sense. Okay, excellent. So let's just see. Missed the start of the webinar. So Brad, let me know where you're based again. Let's just make sure that you are eligible to apply for it. And Yvonne, yeah. And Yvonne, look, if you want to, or Brad, even Christine, if you want to have a chat, happy, I'll put a link in there that you can book a quick 30-minute call. Calbar. So that's Calbar. What LGA, what council is Calbar in? Scenic Rim. Okay, so let's just double check. Okay, so Scenic Rim is not eligible this time. So you can see these are the LGAs that are, because the focus for them this time is on regional Queensland. So, it's one of those times that they've thrown Scenic Rim into Southeast Queensland. if you can say that you're headquartered, and you can't lie, but if you, I don't know, Western Downs, which obviously where kind of Warwick and stuff is, Southern Downs, then you would, okay, can't use a PO box. Condamine Pest is in Warwick. Okay, so maybe have a good look through everything, mate. But I guess my point is, maybe watch the replay, go through the guidelines is going to be your big thing, and have a look at the sample application. If you can get an address in, or you can get, that is in one of those regions, then absolutely have a crack. If you're trying to push a square peg into a round hole, it's not worth it, because they're not gonna approve you anyway. So I would say don't waste your time if that's the case, but definitely have a look at that stuff first. It's worth doing it, as you said, with your wife over a cuppa or something, and just getting your head around where everything's at. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'll let you all get on with your week. As I said, everything will come out via an email. I'll keep all of those links nice and easy for you to just click on and have a bit of a look at. I'll put the recording in the landing page at the top, so you'll be able to watch the recording and just have, double check on anything that you're not sure of. And if I can be of any assistance, just reach out, have a chat. Always happy to help if I can. So thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate when people, share their time with me as small business owners. It's such a precious thing. So thank you so much. I hope it was helpful. Fingers crossed for anyone who does put an application in. And if you're watching this on replay, same thing. Thanks for watching. Shout out if you've got any questions. I've been Tracy Sheen, the Digital Guide, and I will see you on another webinar at some point in the future. Take care, folks. See ya.